And we're back again. Our next demo is made especially for EVE Online fans, or fans of super ambitious games. Let's now turn the floor over to Dust514.
What's up, guys? I'm Colin Moriarty, editor of IGN PlayStation. I'm here with CCP's very own David Reed, and we're here to talk about Dust514, a PS3 exclusive MMO, or MMO FPS, I guess is what we're going to call it.
You got it, Colin. Absolutely.
That comes to the PS3 later this year. David, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having us.
So let's get right into it. What is Dust514?
Dust514, at its essence, is a first-person shooter exclusive to PlayStation 3, like you said, with a couple of big differences. Number one, it is free to play. And so rather than buying a game at retail, bringing it onto your Blu-ray disc and putting it in your PlayStation 3, you'll be able to download the full game for free directly off the PlayStation Network. And you'll play through the game, you'll earn your in-game currency, our Interstellar credits, and you'll be able to also pay for virtual currency if you choose, a currency we call ARM using PlayStation points. And with those currencies, you'll be able to customize and tweak and build your shooter the way you want to, along with your friends in a very deep strategic way of doing shooters. And we'll show you some of that. But right now what we're showing you is getting right into the action here, where what we've got is basically a very familiar moment-to-moment gameplay that if you're a Battlefield player or a Call of Duty player or something like that on PS3, you're gonna feel right at home. The moment-to-moment gameplay here is very much, we have maps that are up to 24 versus 24 PvP. That's the largest we've announced so far. But these are huge, huge maps, up to 4 kilometers square. And what you're seeing in this map here is something that's actually only going to be a module of a different map after we get this thing really up and running in a bigger way, being in closed beta now. So as an example of where this thing even gets a little bigger, right? People who have heard of CCP, people who know about EVE Online, the EVE universe is a little notorious for some of the crazy things that our gamers have been able to do. And part of that comes from the fact that everyone playing EVE is in one single shard. Unlike other MMOs, where you go out, you run into somebody in the real world and you find them, and hey, you and I play game X, we may never see each other in game. We're on different shards, maybe we're different factions, different level bands, not so in EVE. Everyone playing EVE is literally playing together all the time. And that sort of single shard place where people become famous and infamous by every action they do is what has led EVE to be the only MMO in the business that has grown every single year now of its existence since launching in 2003. And now with Dust514, you as a mercenary, as a first-person shooter player on the PlayStation 3, you're not just going to be playing a game set in the EVE universe, you are going to be playing a game that is literally in that same single shard with those hundreds of thousands of EVE players. The battlefields that you look at here are set on the thousands of planets in the EVE Online universe. We have tens of thousands of planets in these star systems, and each of these battlefields has a ramification for every win and loss of how the geopolitical, economical world of EVE Online manifests from there.
So that's insane, because it's so ambitious.
Yes.
I mean, how long did it take you guys to first of all, where did you come up with this idea, start talking to Sony or whatever, and then decide you're going to make a shooter that ties in with your MMO on different platforms, and like you said, the ramifications are real, they're there. How complicated was that to do?
Yeah, so start with what you started with there. Where did this idea come from? And I think, a lot of gamers, for us at CCP, this is a super exciting moment because you've had this EVE Online story that has just resonated with people very deeply in terms of what people are able to do in our game. The infinitely scalable storytelling engine, all the drama, all the antics, the assassinations, the bank heists, and the alliances, and the betrayal, and the trust, and the cooperation, and the wars of tens of thousands of people at a time, right? This is stuff that's only happened in EVE Online. But EVE Online is not a game for everybody, right? I mean, not everyone is looking for that sort of moment-to-moment experience. Not everyone is playing their games on the PC. And so when the guys got together and started thinking about, look, we know we've got something exciting here. We know we've got something that every gamer is curious about, but not every gamer is necessarily going to play. And we've seen quotes out there of EVE is the game that has entertained more people than have ever played it. And it's a little unique in that regard. So the idea was, how do we bring that drama engine into something that is more broadly accessible to a larger group of gamers? We're not talking about casual games, and we're not talking about little social experiments here. Let's make a AAA game for a larger group of gamers, and how could you possibly get more broad-based in the AAA space than a free-to-play shooter on the console? And so the idea there really was that. We know there are millions of people who have played EVE, and we know there are tens of millions of people who are curious about EVE. Now's your chance. Now's your chance to jump into that universe with both boots on the ground on our planets and write these stories yourselves and be part of this giant, epic drama that has been happening for 9 years now.
Awesome. And it was, when I saw the game behind closed doors earlier, it seemed like it was all about the minutia. It's about the little things, and it's about kind of building your character and buying goods and eventually even trading with other players. Can you tell us a little bit, one of my favorite things about CCP is you have your own economist. You have your own economist on staff. the monetary system is so well defined that you guys actually have economists write reports on what's going on. Can you tell us how the economies will mix up and how eventually people will kind of be buying or trading with each other?
Absolutely. So let's start with what the currencies are really for. And to your point, right, there is a much deeper level of customization and ability to tweak the way you would like to play this game than there are in other shooters, right? We have dozens of skills, we have thousands of items. Typically a first-person shooter is sort of relegated to a very narrow role. The archetypes of I'm a shooter and I'm a glass cannon sitting on a hill with a sniper rifle, but maybe I can't take a couple punches, right? Or I'm a heavy and I run around really slowly, but I got a big gun and I can take a lot of damage, right? Dust 514 is a game that tries to allow you to customize that sort of stuff. Look, maybe you like being a heavy with a big heavy machine, but you'd like to be a little faster. Well, in Dust you'll be able to do that. Or maybe you like having that sniper rifle, but you'd like to be able to take a little more damage and get heavier armor. In Dust you'll be able to do that. And this is where the economy and the skill system really come in. As you play through matches, you earn currency in game, but you also earn skill points. And these skill points will be very familiar to players of EVE Online who have seen how the skill system works there, and that there are very, very deep skill trees. Much like in real life, we don't expect you to learn everything, and we don't expect you to be great at everything, but we do expect people to specialize and be really good in something, and that is how you will contribute to the group faster, whether in EVE or in Dust in your mercenary clan. And then what happens as you've started to customize a bit, and you're like, you know what, I really like this kind of way of playing, but when it comes time to play on a different kind of planet, or a larger match or a smaller match, or it's a different kind of terrain or things like that, you may say, it's time to try this different sort of game, this different sort of gun, this different sort of vehicle. That's where you'll use your in-game currency and your virtual currency. And even though Dust is a free-to-play game, it is adamantly not a pay-to-win game. I mean, CCP takes its social contract with its gamers very seriously, and if you're going to build a game around a skill-based genre like first-person shooters, you got to make it a skill-based game. You can't make it pay to win. And so this is very much what we've been doing here, is allowing people to play the game, customize as they want, and use those in-game currency resources to really tailor and customize the way they play. Now, then you ask about our economy, right? And this is a fascinating subject because we do have literally Dr. Ao was the man who was running the economics department of an Icelandic university before he came to CCP. And the reason why we found this important is because there's so much depth and reality in the EVE economy that we can actually track the inflation that happens for particular resources as things go on in game. And as we are on the verge of launching Dust now and connecting the Dust gameplay and how gamers will earn currency as a first-person shooter versus how people play it in EVE and earn their currency through mining or trading or warfare or building ships and selling them, it's really important that we don't accidentally do something strange with the economy there. I mean, in Dust you're going to buy guns and you're going to buy vehicles, and you may have a really good gun or you may have a really good tank, but it can't be more expensive than a spaceship that's the size of a city.
Right.
So we're tuning these knobs very carefully, and who better to do it than our own Ben Bernanke or Alan Greenspan is exactly how we think about it.
Exactly. So tell us, we're going to wrap up here, but Dust 514 comes to PSN. It comes out later this year, right? And there's going to be a PlayStation Vita app as well. So do you have a specific time on when people can expect those?
Yeah, so part of what we announced here at E3 is that we are ramping up our closed beta right now. We are going into our first big beta event on June 29th, and so people will be able to get into the game and get their hands on as part of that. The Vita app that you're talking about is called Dust 514 Neocom, and it's basically sort of a way to mirror what you actually have in the game, where you have a bit of UI here, where you are, you're able to tweak your fittings. You'll be able to do that in the game and the PS3 as well, but you can take it with you on the Vita. It gives you the social applications. It gives you a view of what's going on in the game at any time. And so it is important for gamers to be able to take these things with them, so they're not necessarily doing all the admin they need to on the best piece of glass in their house when they finally are down there with their surround sound speakers and their HD TV. Take that on the road with you on your Vita, and that's a good way to do that. Game is in closed beta now, ramping up very quickly, launching exclusively on PlayStation 3 here in 2012.
Awesome. David, thank you so much. I think Dust 514 is a game you're going to want to keep an eye on. Naomi, back to you.
Thanks, Colin. Awesome. As for the rest of you out there, what did you think of Dust 514? Follow at IGN on Twitter and send us a tweet with the hashtag E3. Or don't. I mean, it's really up to you. Anyway, it's been a long, awesome day of game demos and interviews. Since we legally can't be here after a certain time, we're going to end the show with a hot new MMO. The Elder Scrolls MMO is next.